Hello friends! Welcome into my craft studio. Today is gonna be a fun one. It's officially October 1st. I love this month. This is my birthday month. If you missed my video that came out just a couple days ago, I'm gonna pop it right here in the tags. So you can head over and watch that first because it's an update video. And I am talking about my Craftober. So for the first day of Craftober, we've got 3 projects. I'm gonna try to keep all of these videos anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes long, just so that it doesn't take up too much time of your day. Up first, I have got the cutest, easiest project, these darling apples. I cannot wait to show you how to make these. You're gonna wanna make some, you can make them apples or pumpkins, either one. But let's go ahead and see what these supplies are and go through all the steps on how to make it. We're gonna build upon our supplies as we go, but our starting thing we need in hand are a tower of tumbling blocks. These blocks I get from the Dollar Tree, and you get so many to work with in the pack. Now they're supposed to be the Jenga version of the game, but a smaller condensed size, which is so great for DIY crafts. Now I'm taking the first row of 3, zigzagging some glue across it so every block has some glue, and then I'm going to continue the pattern that they have inside the packaging, 3 going one way, 3 going the other way, zigzagging the rows back and forth with the stack of 3 clustered together. I'm going to continue doing this layer by layer, adding in my glue, and the first tower we're making is going to have 10 rows. The second tower we're making is going to have 14 rows. All of this comes from the one pack. Super simple to do this part, and to make sure they're straight, I keep putting it on the side of the table, kind of rolling it around and putting my hands on the sides to straighten it out as much as possible. But it's okay if it's not perfectly straight, because that gives it that darling farmhouse charm to it. Now I'm going to add on quite a bit of red paint. I really want the paint to go between all of the rows of these blocks, so you don't see that wood in between and it looks like one unit. You could also paint these green if you have green apples in your home or you prefer green apples. You can do all sorts of things, make them into pumpkins. I love these tumbling blocks. Now I'm taking this large craft stick. I'm going to do a water stain on it, and I just have a jar with water, some brown paint, a little bit of black paint. I mix it all together and it absorbs into these craft sticks beautifully. Once it was dried, I'm going to go ahead and paint on the word apples with a small tip brush. And I always like to just put my paint into the cap of my paint bottle. And I use that instead of getting out a whole nother plate to make another mess. And I'm going to make these 25 cents. I remember when I used to make everything 5 cents and 10 cents. Not anymore. Things are so much more expensive now. So I was like, I'll make these 25 cents. And realistically, it should have been like 50 cents or 75 cents. But anyway, once my paint on that was done, I'm now going to do a little bit of distressing. I'm sanding, and I'm coming in with a black ink pad that's kind of dried out. I don't want it to be too saturated on this ink pad. And I'm just kind of toughing it up, adding some texture, some depth. This is really going to give it that farmhouse charm to it for the fall season. Now I'm taking some twine. Once that was all dry, I'm going to wrap it around 2 or 3 times, and then I'm going to tie it nice and tight. I'm going to take my apple sign, glue that right on, and you don't have to do the apple sign, but I just think it adds so much whimsy to it for the fall season. If the whimsy thing is not your thing, you can leave that part off. I'm using my miter shears to cut this twig down to size, and I'm adding a really nice dollop of glue on the top of these apples because I want to roll the sides of this twig in that glue so it's going up the sides, and it really helps it lock it on a lot better. So I'm rolling it around for both of them, and while the glue is still hot and easy to stick something to, I'm going to add on some moss. I'm going to compress it into the glue without burning my finger. And I add quite a bit. And once it's dry, I pull away the extra I don't want. Now I'm adding on a raffia bow right into the center of the tall apple. And I'm going to add some buttons as well because I think this is just so whimsical and charming. I'm going to put that right in the middle of that raffia bow. And then to complete the look of this, I decided I didn't want to do a bow and a button on the smaller apple, but I did want to still put something. So I'm going to add on a leaf, and I also added a leaf to the taller apple too. You'll see it in the finished look, but that's it. So cute, so fun to make. Weren't those apples so cute? I feel like they could be the cutest pumpkins. And last Christmas, I actually made those tumbling blocks into a snowman and a Santa. So they're endless. There's so many fun things you can make with the actual towered blocks. I hope you'll give the apples a try. Now our next craft we're going to be doing is this beautiful sign. Let's see if I can get it to focus and cover my face for a second. This beautiful sign where it says gather together. It is super quick and easy to make. You're gonna love it for your front door or somewhere in your house. This project is really quick. We're going to be using one of these round signs. You can get any wood round sign from the Dollar Tree in their craft section or a seasonal one you have on hand already. Some fabric, and then this gathered together sign that was wood that I found in the fall section. Now I'm going to add on a lot of glue onto my sign. I want to cover up this beach vibes. It's one I had on hand and I'm not going to use it for summer, so I thought this is perfect to use for this beautiful door sign. I went ahead and glued it on, laid it nice and flat as much as I could with the fabric, and now I'm going to come around with my scissors, trimming away at the edges. I wanted to give it a little bit of a distressed look, so I'm using my sanding block just to go around the edges to rough up the end fibers, so it adds a little bit of texture and depth. And now I did not like the cornucopia. It's not that I don't like cornucopias, I just didn't like that it had like a printed image on it. So I went ahead and used some old beat up scissors. I cut that part off and then I removed the string. Now because it had a hole on the T, I'm going to just fill it up with some hot glue. I wait for it to dry just a little bit where it's cool to the touch, and then I pull off the extra glue that's kind of popping over the sides. Once it was dry, I put a little bit extra paint right into that dolloped hole area where I put the hot glue. And then I let that dry for a second, and then I continue on painting all the rest of the word, getting all over with a beautiful chocolate brown. Now to hang up this sign, I always like to have a really nice handle when I'm hanging up my signs. So I'm going to take some of this rope. I unfrayed the ends of the rope because I want to make sure this doesn't just pop off. I'm adding on some glue first, then the rope, then some more glue. And to have a nice finished look, I've got a little piece of drop cloth fabric that's just a scrap, and I'm going to put that right over it. Now let's make a beautiful bow that is super simple. You get the length that you want for the size of bow that you're going to be making. I am going to zigzag back and forth where there are 2 loops on each side, and then there is a ending tail on the opposite sides. Once I have zigzagged back and forth almost like a ribbon candy, I'm going to pinch the middle together, and then I'm going to take this piece of twine. You can use a zip tie, you can use a twisty little piece of wire, whatever you want to use, you tie off the middle. Now I have also made bows like this where they're longer layers of the zigzag back and forth, and I've just taken the bow and actually tied it right in the middle by actually tying the ribbon in a knot. But it makes the easiest bow, and then you just fluff it out. Now I'm ready to glue on my gathered together sign, and I want to make sure I work fast because I want to put enough glue so it sticks. I don't want the glue to seep out on the sides, but I also want to make sure it's got a nice sticky hold. So you could technically use a little bit of E6000 with this if you want to make the glue, make sure it's everywhere and it doesn't dry too quickly. Hot glue sometimes can dry too quickly on these cursive wood pieces. But now I'm going to just simply add on my big bow that we made, and I'm going to really beef up this bow. I'm going to add on some greenery from a pick that has these pumpkins on it. I love the leaves and the pumpkins. So I'm adding on 3 green leaves. I love the citrus color. It brings out the nice yellow and buttery tones in the fabric. I'm adding on 2 at the top, 1 underneath the bow, and then I'm going to add in a pumpkin. Now I want to make sure that pumpkin sticks, so I kind of cut a hole a little bit in the pumpkin and then added my glue and then put it down so it went into the pumpkin and didn't just pop off. And to really bring forth the texture of that gathered together wood sign, I'm going to take my sanding block and just sand over it just ever so slightly to bring up the edges, and that's it. It is such a quick project to make and great if you have a whole bunch of leftover fabric on hand. This craft that we're going to be doing next is big. Can you see how big this is? It is so substantial, and it's using scrapbook paper on it. So if you've got a bunch of scrapbook paper in your house, this is the project for you. This is so easy to make, and it has such a beautiful presence sitting at a front door or even like on a dining room table. When I first started doing Dollar Tree projects in the fall season, I bought a ton of these wood pumpkins, all these different sizes, all these different kinds. Today we're going to take 3 different ones that I had on hand, and we're going to turn them into a beautiful sign. Now I'm going to be using these scrapbook papers that I have on hand, but you can use whatever you want. I am going to be taking the 3 pumpkins, laying them out how I think they would look good, and then coordinating the papers so the papers also look good. To put the scrapbook paper on the pumpkin, it's super simple. Add glue. I'm just using hot glue versus like a adhesive glue that you would use for scrapbooking. I'm going to just center the pumpkin right on the paper, and these papers are 12 by 12 in size from scrapbooking. I'm going to roll it down with my brayer just to make sure all the glue is nice and spread out so it's really adhering to each other. I'm going to do all 3 of these pumpkins, and then this next step is super easy. And honestly, I kind of love tearing the paper. It's kind of therapeutic, ripping the paper. This was very calming, this part for me. Maybe if you're feeling like you're feeling frustrated in your day, this would be a good project to sit there and just rip the paper. I don't know. But I will tell you, when I was doing this, I was really relaxed while I was ripping around this paper because I just loved seeing that the edging ripping against the wood pumpkin, it came off really easy and a nice clean line. And then to go back in to really define the pumpkin shape, I'm just using a piece of sandpaper. Again, this part was really therapeutic for me. I'm just going to sand all around those edges. And I am not going to put anything on the stem. I really like the pumpkin having the same paper on the stem as it is the pumpkin. But you could definitely put some twine on it if you want to, or paint it. It's up to you with what you would like to do for that pumpkin. I would love to know what you think. What would you put on the pumpkin stem? I'm just going to keep mine paper. Would you keep it paper, or would you put something else on it? Now I'm going to bring these 3 pumpkins together. This is so easy, friends. At this point, I'm speeding it up for you all, but it took me maybe like 6 minutes at this point of just putting on paper, ripping it, sanding it, gluing it together. This project was so fast. I think total time it took me was maybe about 10-15 minutes. So quick. Now don't be afraid to shift things around when you glue stuff together. You can see I lifted it back up before the glue locked in, and I'm shifting it because I want to make sure the pumpkins are straight. Now here's this next step. Friends, you could totally skip this part. I decided I want my pumpkins to stand vertically. So I had this cute little palette that I had painted orange for another project on another day, and I hijacked it. And I decided if I cut it in half, it looks like a Twix. Heidi, don't think about chocolate. I'm really trying hard. It's October 1st, and I'm trying really hard to be good about not eating as many sweets so I can get healthy. Anyway, it looks like a Twix bar. We're going to skip past that. Just ignore me. But I'm going to glue these pumpkins into that crevice of those wood pieces. And I decided to cover it up with a piece of ribbon. Again, you could totally skip this if you just want to lean it up against something or even put a ribbon on the back to hang it up. So I'm just covering it up real quick with this piece of ribbon. This part honestly looks really janky, but I promise in the end, you're not even going to see that part. So I am now going to add on this adorable pumpkin bottle, pumpkin punch, darling little decor piece that I found. And I wasn't sure how I was going to use it, but when I cluster it with all these pumpkins, it just comes together so cute. I could totally see this being something that they sell at Home Goods, at Hobby Lobby, all sorts of stores. So, so cute. Now I've added on some greenery, some leaves. I'm bringing in this beautiful ribbon that they have at the Dollar Tree. I love this ribbon. I think it's so cute. And then I'm going to add on a pumpkin right in the center, a little foam pumpkin, and it just has the cutest finished look. As I say to all of you every single time, I hope you get a chance to be in your craft room. You get to make something beautiful for your home, and you just have some you time. Some time to come down from your day, some time to just work out your thoughts. I love crafting and sitting in my room and just listening to something that's calming on the radio or watching a Hallmark movie, whatever it is. By the way, if you have any good Hallmark movie recommendations, pop them down below in the description box. I have been looking for the fall season, some good Hallmark movies. I know the Christmas season's getting ready to start soon, but I'm not quite ready for that. I'm still in fall mode. All right, friends, that's it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It always helps out my channel. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which project you like, which one you think you would try. Don't forget to check out the video that I'm linking where I'm going over my Craftober and all the updates in my life. I'm linking it right here at the end. Until the next episode, bye friends.